That's a tough choice. That was a tough choice to make, man. I feel bad leaving that one in the dust. Hello everyone and welcome to yet another one of these brackets. Today we are doing the legendary emo slash pop punk slash post punk band Paramore, one of the most prominent bands of the late 2000s and early to mid 2010s. They've now become favorites among the mainstream, but also have sucked in a lot of new indie fans with their recent output. Without further ado, guys, let's hop right into this bracket. We're starting with That's What You Get versus Now. Honestly, a pretty easy choice for me. I'm going That's What You Get. It's kind of dated, but Now is one of the weaker tracks for me off their self-titled record, so move that there. And now, next we actually have quite a difficult matchup with Fake Happy versus Hate to See Your Heart Break. Fake Happy, one of the more relatable tracks on After Laughter, but Hate to See Your Heart Break, one of the most heartbreaking songs, heart-wrenching songs off of self-titled. Ultimately, have to go with Fake Happy here. The chorus is just too good to leave it in the dust, but no disrespect to Hate to See Your Heart Break. Next, we got This Is Why versus We Are Broken. It's pretty handily This Is Why. Just an absolute banger of a chorus, an amazing way to start off their latest LP. Moving on, we have Misery Business versus Told You So, which is a harder matchup than you might think. But in the end, I have to go with the classic that is Misery Business. Told You So is a solid track, but definitely not one of my favorites. Moving down the list, we have Future versus Playing God. Future being the closer to self-titled. I'm going with Playing God here. Future, I just feel like is trying to do too much. It feels like it's purposefully trying to be a closer, and there's just like shoegaze experimentation in it that I'm just not a big fan of, and respect the risk taking, but Playing God's the better song here. Next we got Fast in My Car versus For a Pessimist. I'm pretty optimistic. Fast in My Car is a cool song, but I did think it's kind of an odd choice as the opener to that album. As for a Pessimist, I'm pretty optimistic. It's an awesome opener and sets the tone perfectly for the rest of Riot, so that's my choice there. We got Rose Colored Boy versus Brighter. For me, it's Rose Colored Boy. I absolutely love the sentiment to this song, and the theme is awesome, and it really does a great job pushing forward the message of After Laughter. Next, we have The Only Exception versus Never Let This Go. The Only Exception is an absolutely beautiful, incredible song. Maybe the best song off of Brand New Eyes, and definitely one of Paramore's best songs in general, so pretty easy choice for me there. Next, we have The News versus Grudges, which is kind of a difficult one. The News was a song I always liked but didn't love off the latest record, and I kind of have the same exact stance on Grudges. But ultimately, I like the uplifting vibe of Grudges more than The News. The News kind of feels like it's been done before by other bands, and while I like Paramore's rendition of it, I'm just kind of sick of hearing about The News. Next, we got Looking Up versus Part 2. I went with Part 2 here. Not the biggest fan of either of these tracks, but Part 2 is going to take the cake. And then we have You First versus Careful. Careful is a good song, don't get it twisted, but You First is one of their best new tracks. If you haven't heard the Remy Wolf remix to this song, it's absolutely incredible, but the original might be even better, and yeah, has some of Hayley Williams' best vocals, some of the best grooves the band has ever delivered, so a super great track. Next we got Ignorance versus Grow Up. For me, Grow Up is easily going to take it here. It might be my favorite song off the self-titled record. Moving down the list, we have Running Out of Time versus When It Rains. When It Rains, beautiful track. Running Out of Time is not going to be beat here. Has a fantastic hook. I think it's a theme a lot of people can relate to, and Hayley does such a great job delivering the message of this track. Moving down to Emergency versus Hard Times. It's easily Hard Times, despite how popular and poppy it is. I absolutely love it. It's so groovy and enjoyable and just uplifting. So, Hard Times. Next, we got Big Man, Little Dignity versus All We Know. Once again, Big Man, Little Dignity. It's one of the best songs off the new record. One of the most underrated songs off the new record, but it is one of Hayley's best hooks. So, yeah, I'm going with that. So, we got Born for This versus All I Wanted. Kind of a difficult choice here as I'm indifferent to both of these, but I went with Born for This. And now we get to move on to the other side of the bracket. Hi, I'm over here now. Figure 8 versus Idol Worship. Quite a tough matchup, actually. I think I'm going to go with Idol Worship. but Figure Eight is a great track. These are just two very solid songs off their respective albums. 26 versus Woe. This is like flipping a coin. Both of these songs are kind of weak in my opinion, but ultimately went with 26, just a better ballad, and Woe doesn't really have a lot to offer. Next, we got Feeling Sorry versus Pressure. If you guys couldn't tell by now, I'm not the biggest fan of All We Know Is Falling, but Pressure is going to definitely take the cake here. I think that's one of Paramore's best early songs. Here, Ankle Biters, Brick by Boring Brick, going with Brick by Boring Brick. I just think it's a more interesting track. I kind of like what Ankle Biters was trying to do, but something about that song just feels kind of off to me. I can't really explain it. Ain't It Fun versus Crush Crush Crush, two Paramore classics, one that I juggled both around with a lot, but I ultimately think Ain't It Fun is a better song. Crush 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 is cool, but some of it's just a little too like cookie cutter for me. It's aged not that well. Ain't It Fun to me is still a classic. Hallelujah versus Forgiveness. I absolutely adore Forgiveness. That's gonna win this matchup for me. Super depressing and kind of a healing song for Haley with all she went through. So yeah, really enjoyed that track. Super personal. Great song. Next, we got I Caught Myself versus Daydreaming. Went with Daydreaming here. It has a good hook. It's not my favorite Paramore hook, but it's enjoyable enough and pushes it over the edge for me. Next, we got Let the Flames Begin versus Thick Skull. Thick Skull is going to win this one for me. This is a song that I went back to doing this bracket and realized how underrated it truly is. It's an incredible closer, and this song definitely deserves more credit. Tell Me How versus Last Hope. Tell Me How's one of the weaker tracks off After Laughter for me, so I'm going with Last Hope. Next, we got Liar versus Still Into You. Liar is a song I liked upon first listen of This Is Why, but it has kind of grown off me, and it does feel like a weaker track on that album. Still Into You, one of their biggest hits. It's not my favorite Paramore song, but I do think it's good and respect the credit it gets, so I'm going with Still Into You. Next, we got Fences versus Here We Go Again. I went with Fences. It's one of the best off Riot for me. So that's moving on. Next, One of Those Crazy Girls versus Misguided Ghosts. I don't think you guys understand how underrated One of Those Crazy Girls is for me. It is a dark horse to potentially win this bracket, which might make a lot of people upset, but it's just such a good character portrait from Hayley Williams, and the guitar and vocal performance on it is amazing. Next, we got Caught in the Middle versus Conspiracy. Went with Caught in the Middle. That hook is just way too infectious to pick against it. Pull versus Turn It Off is a really, really tough matchup because Pull is one of my favorites off After Laughter. I love the theme of it. I love the hook. I love the build up to the hook. Turn It Off is one of Paramore's best songs. Ultimately, I think I have to go with Turn It Off, but that's a really tough decision for me. Pull could have made it far in this bracket if it won that matchup. C'est Comme Ça versus My Heart. C'est Comme Ça is definitely a grower, but once it grows on you, it hits hard, so I'm going with that. And then finally, Decode versus Crave. Another kind of tough matchup. Two songs that I like but don't love. But ultimately, I went with Crave. Alright, moving back to the top left of the bracket, we got That's What You Get versus Fake Happy. I'm going with Fake Happy here. I know that might get a lot of flack, but I'm kind of a different breed of Paramore fan where I came in a lot later. I didn't get into them until After Laughter was released, so that was kind of my, not introduction to the band, but first full-length LP I listened to. Obviously, I'd heard their hits in the past, but this is the first album that got me into Paramore, which admittedly may put some bias into this bracket. So we got This Is Why versus Misery Business. Sorry, Misery Business, but This Is Why is an absolute Goliath. So I'm picking that. And then with Playing God versus For a Pessimist, I'm going with For a Pessimist. Next, we got Rose Colored Boy versus The Only Exception. That is a tough matchup. Ooh, Rose Colored Boy. Such a deep, healing, revealing song for Hayley, but The Only Exception is so good. It's so beautiful. One of the best love songs of my generation. So I think I have to go with The Only Exception. That's going to move fourth. And then we got Grudges versus Part 2. I think I'm gonna go Grudges here. Didn't expect Grudges to make it this far, but yeah, that's what I'm going with. And then You First versus Grow Up, another really hard matchup. If it was the Remy Wolf version, I would probably pick the Remy Wolf, but I don't know. Grow Up's like a more basic cookie cutter song. Ah, but I kind of like it better. I don't know. I'm going You First. I'm going You First. It's too good of a song. That's a tough choice. That was a tough choice to make, man. I feel bad leaving that one in the dust. Next, we got Running Out of Time versus Hard Times, the Battle of Time. I think I'm going to go with Running Out of Time. I think it's a better song thematically. And we got Big Man, Little Dignity versus Born for This. Finally, an easy matchup for me. I'm going Big Man, Little Dignity. All right, we're back on the other side with Idol Worship versus 26. It's definitely Idol Worship. Once again, Idol Worship isn't like a top 3 song off After Laughter, but 26 is one of the most kind of just boring. Pressure versus Brick by Boring Brick. I think Pressure had a solid run, but Brick by Boring Brick is going to move on here. Next, we got Ain't It Fun versus Forgiveness. An upset to some, but I think Forgiveness is a much better song, so I'm going Forgiveness. I just love it. It's such a good track. Next, Daydreaming versus Thick Skull. Yeah, I think I have to go Thick Skull again. I think I do. I just love the instrumentation in that song, and the build-up is amazing. So, Last Hope versus Still Into You. I'm gonna go with Still Into You again. At least for now. Still Into You is better than Last Hope. And then Fences versus One of Those Crazy Girls. It's sorry guys, I have to do it again. It's One of Those Crazy Girls. That guitar solo in that song is amazing. And Haley's vocal performance on this song is amazing. The storytelling on that song is amazing. Go listen to that song, dude. You'll understand after you listen to it. And finally, the last couple on this side, Caught in the Middle versus Turn It Off. Caught in the Middle is definitely catchier, but I think Turn It Off is the deeper track. I think there's more substance to Turn It Off, so I'm gonna go with that. Turn It Off's gonna move on. And then Sekum Saw versus Crave's definitely going to be Sekum Saw. It's way more of a banger than Crave. Now we're back up at the top. Fake Happy versus This Is Why. I think I'm going to go with This Is Why. I think This Is Why is a better track than Fake Happy. It's better put together, has a better hook, I think. I don't know. Does it have a better hook? I think it definitely has better verses, but the Fake Happy hook might edge it out. But yeah, I think it deserves to move on. This is why it's going to move on. And then for a pessimist, I'm pretty optimistic versus The Only Exception. Yeah, For a Pessimist had a good run, but The Only Exception is absolutely going to beat it. Moving down here to Grudges versus You First. I got to go You First again. It had that big upset. It's got to go far now. You First has got to go far now. Running Out of Time versus Big Man, Little Dignity. This is an interesting little matchup, a little civil war off the same album. I think I like Big Man, Little Dignity better. That's the way Haley just like goes in on whatever guy she's talking about is awesome. I think maybe the subject matter and theme of Running Out of Time is more relatable, but I really like the darkness and eeriness of Big Man, Little Dignity, so I'm going with that. Over on this side, we got Idol Worship versus Brick by Boring Brick. I'm going to go Brick by Boring Brick again. Idol Worship had a good run, but yeah, Brick by Boring Brick's the better song. And then Forgiveness versus Thick Skull. Thick Skull also had a good run, but Forgiveness is, in my opinion, one of Paramore's best songs. So Forgiveness is going to move forward. And then we got Still Into You versus One of Those Crazy Girls. Guys, you already know. I'm doing it again. One of Those Crazy Girls is moving on. And then Turn It Off versus Sekum Saw. I think I got to give this one to Turn It Off again. Sekum Saw is really fun, but Turn It Off overall is the better song. Moving back over, this will determine our final four. This Is Why versus The Only Exception. This is actually a really difficult matchup. I think The Only Exception is a better put together song, but This Is Why is so iconic. I think The Only Exception's a better song. I'm going with that. That's tough for me. It's hard for me to choose against This Is Why, but I'm going with The Only Exception. Now we have You First versus Big Man Little Dignity. Oh boy. This is really tough. I love the urgency and hook on You First. I really do. But Big Man Little Dignity is like a top 5 Haley Williams hook for me. I almost have to like rock, paper, scissors this one for myself. I think I have to go You First. I think I do. That's crazy You First almost got eliminated and now it's made it this far. Now we got Brick by Boring Brick versus Forgiveness. Brick by Boring Brick again had a really good run, but Forgiveness has just an incredible hook. I just love the theme of the track. It's a great theme. It's something everyone can listen to and relate to. Be like, yeah, I forgive this person, but I can't forget yet, or I can't forgive them yet. They did a lot of bad stuff. Yeah, going with that. Guys, 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 guys. I know. Turn It Off. It's a more iconic Paramore song. I know. It definitely is. Like, I'm not even going to argue with you there. It should proceed. It should proceed. But it's not going to. I'm sorry. It's my bracket. It's my opinion. Kill me in the comments. Alright, zooming out here so we can see the final 4. The only exception versus You First. This is really hard. This is really, really hard. This is kind of cool. I didn't even realize the final 4 are all from different albums. Just a testament to how Paramore is able to reinvent themselves with every record. I have a lot of respect for them with that. But yeah. This is so difficult. The only exception, amazing love song, amazing singing, amazing build up to what it ultimately is. You First, some of the best urgency I've ever heard in the song. Incredible hook, it's vicious. I think I have to go with You First again. I think I do. I'm going with You First. Screw it. I'm doing it. And now, One of Those Crazy Girls versus Forgiveness. Is One of Those Crazy Girls going to meet its end? I don't think One of Those Crazy Girls deserves to win the bracket entirely. I really don't. But I do think it deserves to be in this final 4. But I think Forgiveness is a better song. I think Forgiveness is the better song. As much as I love One of Those Crazy Girls, it doesn't hold the same impact that Forgiveness does. And now we got You First versus Forgiveness. This is so funny because I feel like on one end you have Paramore's maybe most calm, most focused, most kind of relaxed and like healed songs, and then You First is one of their most vicious, in your face bangers that they have. So it's really what you like more. I think I gotta go with Introspection. I like introspective music as much as I love a hard-hitting banger. I think Forgiveness is going to be the winner of my Paramore bracket. So there you have it, guys. Let me know if you agree or disagree. What song would win your Paramore bracket? Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe as it really helps the channel, and I would love to do more brackets for you guys in the future. In fact, let me know what bracket you guys want to see next. I'm Deadpan Duke. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.